Today, I'm going to record this video a little bit differently because I am responding to Adam Conover, who just released an anti-Xbox video because they purchased Activision and they offer Game Pass at $9.99 a month, which is a good value. All right, let's get into it. It's ridiculous. I don't agree with Adam at all. Let's go over his points and my rebuttals. Thank you so much for watching my videos. Please consider subscribing and hit that bell to know when the videos go live. Also, if you like my videos, please hit that like button, subscribe, bell, all that good stuff. Okay, so long and the short of it is he posted a 3-minute long TikTok. TikTok, not the best format for these types of conversations. And he talks about how bad the Xbox Activision merger is going to be. I'm going to try and do my best to make sure that I include all of Adam's points, but also talk about my rebuttal to those points and why I just don't agree with him at all. I think he's either downplaying what the competition to Xbox has accomplished or straight up fear-mongering. Now, his entire video is about scaring you that Microsoft is going to have a monopoly. That seems to be his goal, except he actually refutes his own point by referencing that Nintendo will probably be just fine because they have great IPs, but Sony would be fucked. Like, what, has Sony made garbage the last few years? God of War, Horizon, those don't mean shit to you? Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man, Ratchet and Clank? I think Sony's going to be just fine. He opens up the video by saying it's more frightening than you realize, and this is a tactic known as fear-mongering, and it's a style of content that I kind of despise. His first big dig at Xbox is that they have Game Pass. Oh no, a good value. Whatever will the industry do? For me, I think it's a good thing because the path we were going down of horse armor and $20 emotes was not one I wanted to continue on. But I digress. He implies that Microsoft has disrupted the $60 or $70 model of selling games by introducing Game Pass, which allows you access to titles day one for $9.99 a month, and that no one can compete with a deal like that. Except yes, they can. Sony and Nintendo actively are trying to compete with this, actually. Sony with Spartacus and Nintendo with whatever Nintendo's doing. Nobody cares. He did point out that one of the key differences is that Spartacus will not have day one games. Well, we do actually have a comparison data point to look at, and that's PlayStation Now, which makes PlayStation a couple $2 billion a year. And no, they do not have day one games on it. You see, the part that really bugs me is Adam's trying to paint Sony as some sort of victim here and paint Microsoft as some sort of company that wants to literally destroy the gaming industry. It's bizarre to say the least. Like, you really think Microsoft is just going to allow the Xbox division to not make any money and fail repeatedly without shutting them down? They almost shut down the branch not that long ago. Separately, you're painting Sony as some sort of victim here when they've been making some of the most critically acclaimed games ever over the last several years. They're also outselling the Xbox consoles, even with the shortages. The problem here isn't that Sony is vulnerable, it's that Xbox finally got its head out of its ass and is offering kick-ass services to its consumers. Services that are much better than Sony's. If Sony can't compete, and their answer was to raise the prices of their games, and Microsoft's answer was to offer better services for their games, is it really Microsoft's fault that they actually tried to push the industry forward instead of doing the same shit we've been doing since the 80s? I don't think so. People are so attached to the $60 or $70 gaming price model that they freak out when anything else comes in and disrupts the industry. If you want to see reactionary, just look at Sony's stock lately. Every analyst says that's going to bounce back and that right now everybody is overreacting. And are we really going to pretend that Sony was the beacon of fairness throughout the PS4 era, charging indie developers $25,000 to be found in the store? Or the fact that they implemented a crossplay tax, basically, for any game that offered crossplay, holding back what the industry was capable of for years? If you haven't heard about this, basically, if you have $1 million game and $900,000 of that revenue was generated on the PlayStation platform, you don't have to pay anything. But let's say only $600,000 of that revenue was made on the PlayStation platform. You would have to pay a 15% penalty to PlayStation for allowing crossplay on your game. That means you would owe Sony $52,500 for only selling $600,000 worth of stuff on their store. Of course, they tried to scrub these documents from the courts, but here they are for your viewing pleasure. Now, I'm actually really excited about Sony's new initiative this year, but to pretend like they don't have skeletons in their closet and Microsoft doesn't is just foolish. Both of them did a lot of dumb shit. But to say that Microsoft is going to destroy the gaming industry and that Sony is fucked? Really? They wanted to crush Xbox and it didn't work. They didn't innovate in their services enough. Xbox did. Is that Xbox's fault that Sony kept going in the ways of old and Microsoft tried to blaze a new path? I don't think so. And now Sony's got to play catch up. That's just how the business is shaking out. Now, one of Adam's early points were about how many games Microsoft has. Quote, Microsoft has bought so many game studios that they now own Dune, Wolfenstein, Quake, Halo, which was always a Microsoft game, Call of Duty, not yet, Elder Scrolls, I'll give you that one, Fallout, still cross-platform, Diablo, still cross-platform, Hearthstone, still cross-platform, World of Warcraft, PC only, Warcraft, PC only, Psychonauts, still cross-platform, Guitar Hero, a dead franchise, Dishonored, sure, Minecraft, still cross-platform, Gears has always been an Xbox game, Tony Hawk, a dead franchise, and Zork, which really was just a missed Crash Bandicoot joke opportunity. So with his logic, I can really easily do the same thing for Sony. And yes, his points kind of fall apart, as will these. So let me take his quote and put it on Sony. Sony has now bought so many game studios that they can exclusively publish Spider-Man, Wolverine, Last of Us, Uncharted, Ratchet & Clank, Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic, God of War, Horizon, Gran Turismo, Major League Baseball, Little Big Planet, Returnal, Sunset Overdrive, Sly Cooper, Infamous, Resistance, and Destiny. Do you see how it's problematic? A lot of those games have the same loopholes as the Microsoft games that he listed. The real takeaway is that both companies have awesome games now, and they're going to be bringing them to you. He continues, and this is more of the fear-mongering aspect. So it doesn't matter if Call of Duty is also available on PlayStation. If you can get it for $9.99 instead of $70 and get hundreds of other games too, that's what you're going to do. The deal is just too good to pass up. Yeah, that's kind of the point. And Xbox had to eat shit for several years about it. Now they have a great service with 25 million subscribers, which, by the way, 25 million times $9.99 a month is about $250 million a month. Simply put, I do not buy that this is not viable. I don't see any company crying out there about making $3 billion a year off subscription fees alone. But we have people out there saying no one could ever make this feasible. Are you insane? $3 billion a year isn't feasible? They've proven that they support developers and they're offering consumers a good deal. It seems like a win-win to me. And that's just based off of the subscription fees. We also know that Game Pass users spend 20% more, play more games, and play more genres. The strategy works, and if Sony decides to do the same thing, isn't that good for everybody? So that question was asked, why doesn't Sony and Nintendo just make their own Game Pass? He says he doesn't think they can do that, but they sort of already have, so his argument is a little flimsy to start with. He did follow up talking about Spartacus, which has yet to be revealed, and the fact that it will not have games on day one. So PlayStation Now, a largely pandered service, amassed 3.2 million subscribers at $9.99 a month. That's $32 million a month, $384 million a year approximately. So let's assume Spartacus, with its 3 different tiers, comes out and, 10% of the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 user base actually decide to try it out. That's based on 134 million PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 consoles out there. And I'm assuming Spartacus is going to be pretty cool. That would be 13.4 million subscribers. Adam did a little guesswork, so I'll do a little bit of guesswork of my own. $9.99 a month times 13.4 million is $133.8 million a month, or $1.6 billion a year. Even without new games, that's a lot of money. He also said that Microsoft is taking a massive loss on Game Pass, and based on comments from Aaron Greenberg and Phil Spencer, that is not true. As a matter of fact, in July of 2020, Aaron Greenberg told What's Good Games that it's not a big profit, indicating that there is some profit, but that there is tremendous value in what they are doing. On profit specifically, he said, ultimately, we think long-term that's the right thing for the business and will have long-term benefits for us. But in the short term, yeah, it's not a big profit play. On service, he said this. It's a different mindset because if you do optimize for profit, you can either say, how do we get as much profit out of each customer? Likely what Sony's strategy ended up being with the $10 price increase. Aaron continues. Or do you pivot that to its opposite and say, how do we add as much value to our fans? How can we actually over-deliver on value? And if you do that, you build fans for life. And when people feel like you over-deliver on value, they will not only continue to use your service, but they want to tell their friends about it. That is what happened with Xbox Game Pass, and that is what happened with PlayStation Studios. PlayStation Studio games are phenomenal. Everybody tells their friends about them. PlayStation fans for life. Xbox Game Pass is a tremendous value, over-delivering on value, some would say, so you tell your friends about it, and you get a fan for life. Different strategies, same outcome. It's good for the industry, in my opinion. Not enough for you? How about a quote from Phil Spencer on the profitability? He says, yeah, I mean, you could do the math on Game Pass. I guess you don't know how many subscribers. Well, we didn't, but we do now. Or how much each subscriber is paying. But you can make some fairly informed decisions and literally just do the math on what we think Game Pass could eventually be. You could do that on any part of the business, but absolutely, Game Pass is sustainable. So 2 comments that apparently there is some profit, or at least it seems to be breaking even. Now, we don't know exacts, but this is what we have been told. There was one more quote, though, from Sarah Bond to Forbes. She explained that gamers spend roughly 20% more on gaming overall. They also spend 20% more time playing games, play 30% more games, and try 40% more genres of games. Regardless, he says Microsoft can take the loss. Remember, they're probably not taking a loss because they are 10 times bigger than Nintendo and Sony combined. The problem with that statement is that, as I laid out, Sony is already making a profit with a similar service, PlayStation Now. And even Nintendo has a similar service that's likely profitable. Neither is Game Pass levels, but Sony is improving their services. So that proves A, yes, Sony can do it, and B, they can do it and make a lot of money. He also says Nintendo makes video games and playing cards. Sony makes video games and headphones and movies. Spider-Man, during a pandemic, is breaking box office records. The movie alone did something like $1.6 billion, and they credit it for the $4 billion in profits in Q4 alone. I get that he's trying to be humorous, but he does so while also minimizing what Sony and Nintendo have actually brought to the table, which is really, really great games. And then Adam did something I didn't really like. He said that the talking point of Microsoft being the 3rd largest game company by revenue is basically provided by Microsoft. It's an attempt to discredit every financial analyst in the world, basically talking about the gaming divisions and how they stack up against each other. It seems to imply that the Microsoft shareholders would be happy if the Xbox gaming division was burning through money, which it is not doing even before these mergers. And just generally, he's trying to shut down a conversation that would quite easily poke some holes in his theories. And they are theories. And he tries to paint a very bleak picture about Sony going forward. Sony, the company whose PlayStation brand has been breaking records for several years in sales. Let's not pretend a wolf is a sheep. Sony is here to play the game. So we'll use Daniel Ahmad, seeing I wouldn't want to use a Microsoft talking point. Per Adam, Nintendo is 4th, then Microsoft, then Sony, and on top of them all, by far, is Tencent, who owns a tremendous amount of the industry. And don't sleep on Embracer Group, by the way, who's down there in 5th place, but sporting a healthy library of ideas. Now, from this point, he kind of goes off the rails. He points out that Microsoft can use their massive cash reserves to subsidize their video game services forever. This argument is still built off the premise that Microsoft is losing money on everything, including Game Pass, which they say they are not. And he also leaves out the part where they almost shut Xbox down not that long ago. Why? Because it was losing so much money. So if it was really a failure, it would be gone. It's the Amazon strategy. They can take a loss on every single game they sell through Game Pass until they have wiped out the competition. Again, they're not taking a loss. And also, they're not trying to wipe out the competition. That premise is just entirely false and counter to everything that Xbox has been talking about. Adam almost admits as such when he points out that Nintendo and Sony can't do shit about it. Except Sony can do shit about it. They can keep releasing stunning, best-selling, world-class games. Only available in their ecosystems and by furthering their services, which they're doing. They need to make those games $70 for them to make a profit that year. Based on what? I outlined how they could make $1.6 billion a year with a 10% conversion rate to the Spartacus service. Xbox has told us that Game Pass subscribers spend 20% more on games. You're telling me that no one would buy God of War if it was on Spartacus. Are you out of your mind? Forza Horizon 5 just sold 10 million copies in a quarter. At $59.99, that's $599 million in roughly 2 months. And you're trying to tell me that no one's going to buy God of War. What planet are you on? I'm going to buy God of War, and I'm labeled the Xbox fanboy. His next point is actually really bad. He talks about how Microsoft offers their console with a payment plan. And if you do the math on the screen that's literally right behind him, it is $24.99 a month for 2 years, aka $599.76, aka the price of the console and the price of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. It's just a deferred payment plan. They're not like offering it for $25. It's cost. I don't even know how to respond. Like, the math is on his screen. It could mean that Microsoft wipes out all the competition in the video game space. The FTC literally wouldn't let that happen. Them buying Activision does not equal them buying Sony and Nintendo and Tencent. That would be a monopoly. He continues, and then they're able to jack the price up on us and also make games that are a lot worse. So this statement depends on two things. One, Microsoft is now the only company in the world, per Adam's argument, something the FTC would never allow to happen. And two, that they have the goal of, what did he say? Making games worse? Why would they do that? Why would any company in their right mind make worse games? You still have shareholders to report to. It's not like they can just shovel garbage out the door. And let's not forget that all this consolidation is going to lead to layoffs and worse conditions for workers. I get where you're coming off with the layoff fear. We don't know what's going to happen when Activision Blizzard merges with Microsoft. There are fears about that. But I don't think 343 is suddenly going to pick up the torch and figure out what to do with World of Warcraft. It's been about a year since the Bethesda merger, and as far as I know, there have not been layoffs at Bethesda. So really, what are you doing here? This is just fear-mongering. There's no basis for it. And the note of worse conditions for workers, have you not been reading the news about what's been going on in Activision Blizzard? The first thing Microsoft is going to do when they take over Activision Blizzard in 2023 is kick Bobby Kotick the f*** out. In addition, Microsoft has some of the best salaries on Glassdoor and has some of the highest reviews as a company, and also for things like diversity and inclusion, and has pledged to hire veterans, offer career advancement, and has a social responsibility pledge. They have a 4.3 out of 5-star rating on Glassdoor. It was rated one of the best places to work on Glassdoor. Do you know how hard that is to do? So Adam is saying that going from Activision Blizzard, where they're shredding documents, where they're threatening or impersonating employees allegedly, busting unions, and is being sued to the state of California, you think going from that to Microsoft means they're going to have worse work conditions? So even with all that, and Microsoft's pledged to make the best working conditions they possibly can, you're still saying it's going to be worse. Based on what? Because it sounds pretty good to me and the developers. He finalizes talking about Game Pass, saying they are trying to undercut everyone and that it's bad for video game makers and video game players. Except for one problem. Developers love Game Pass. There have been numerous stories about people praising Game Pass for how well it has helped their games. And players, consumers love Xbox Game Pass because of the tremendous value. It's actually making Sony look at their services and say, how can we do something like Xbox to offer better things for our consumers? That's a good thing. They extend the life of our games. Some indie games that never would have seen the light of day get support because of Game Pass. Smaller games get a huge boost in sales when they hit Game Pass. You can watch my whole video about that topic in the description. And I know somebody's going to bring up the Outriders story. We all know that's about Square Enix's terrible business practices, so let's not pretend that's about Xbox Game Pass being bad. So let's chill out about Sony. Sony is going to be just fine. Nintendo is going to be just fine. Xbox is going to be fine. And gamers everywhere are going to win regardless of their platform preference. Adam is freaking out, and I'm here to tell you, you really don't have to. Don't listen to his fear-mongering. If Microsoft really wanted to make the industry worse, make worse games, charge you more money, and fire a bunch of people, they wouldn't have almost shut down their games division. they still have to answer to their shareholders. They still have people to answer to. They can't just make everything awful. Now, seeing Adam is truly concerned about the games industry, maybe he should make a video about Tencent. Oh yeah, nobody talks about Tencent because it's boring. Tencent, that company that makes about twice what Microsoft's gaming division does in a year. And what, $7 billion more than Sony? And a company that has been accused of copying their competitors' games, has investments in 800 companies across the world, had their software removed because it was believed they were gaming anti-malware tests, blocked TikTok videos, and was sued for spreading false and damaging information about their competitor TikTok. According to Alana Pierce, she claimed that they removed black people from at least one of their movies and asked that their women had bigger tits. And they had allegedly been using WeChat for surveillance, and that's just what I got from Wikipedia. But yeah, Game Pass. Anyway, if you like my videos, thank you so much for watching. Please consider hitting that subscribe button, hitting that bell. I do appreciate you watching. I don't agree with Adam at all, but maybe you do. Let's talk about it in the comments below. If you want to become a member and support the channel, you can do so right here. These are all the members. I think I have to add 1 or 2 members. Thank you for supporting the channel. If you want to support this sort of stuff, you can do so by clicking that join button right down there. Thank you so much, all of the members supporting me. I'm going to get out of here. Bye for now, everybody.